All right, let's go ahead and get started with the Lasting Legacy session, the event. This is the first time we've ever had this event on our campus during homecoming, and it really is an opportunity for us to just kind of, recognize and celebrate, and also learn from, some of the great mentors and leaders on our campus. And we have two of those individuals on the stage right now, Dr. Sharon, Stewart, and Myers, if you want to give them a hand. So they have a lot of years working on our campus, and I know some of you received our emails in our Torch magazine and saw online and said, "Oh my gosh, they're still working at UC." I think that every year. No, just kidding. I have a tremendous amount of respect for both of these individuals and as mentors, and they're just great people. And I've been at UMC for 20 years, and I was a faculty member at the start, and then a leader or administrator, and now in admissions or in alumni relations. And it's just a joy for us to really have this event for all of you and for them, obviously. As we were talking about this event, we said, what do we want this to look like? Maybe Sharon doing a little interpretive dance, so she's got those skills. Ken to whip up something, in front of us, a demonstration of his cooking skills, but we thought, we got 50 minutes, so let's just focus on maybe 5 questions. And of course, Ken wanted to develop a PowerPoint. He's the PowerPoint guy. So we want to welcome you again to this session. And Ken, do you want to start us out?
Sure, I'd be happy to. I'm going to come down here so I can see the slides. So I thought I'd do a little bit of UMC genealogy. Kevin.
Yeah, turn it on.
It would help if I had my glasses. So it wasn't.
I'll take full responsibility.
Dance.
Kevin,
Good to go.
are you sure, Kevin?
No, yes.
Put it in my computer.
Why don't you just tell me when you want it advanced? That might be a solution.
It's now a blank screen, Kevin.
Yeah, it's
There we go. Pomegranate.
I love technology. That's one thing I've learned over the years to embrace, even when it's not always.
Oh, it's extending.
And why do you have a pomegranate? Is that your screensaver?
Yes. I have a lot of food screensavers. I just enjoy watching them. There we go. That's good. Thank you, Mr. Tech.
Yes.
So this is a bit of a collage. So this shows the leadership we've had over the years, starting with Stan Sahlstrom all the way down to Chancellor Mary, who's with us. And the Vice Chancellor's on the bottom, and it shows in the color the number of years that each of them served. Sahlstrom, he started off as Director Sahlstrom, then Provost, and then the title was changed to Chancellor when Don Sargent took the position. So you all came at different times, so you'll recognize those individuals. Now I want to talk about some of those people. Now, Provost Sahlstrom, from 65, there's already laughter, 65 to 85, and we were one family, a community. We even ate together. I mean, a lot of the fact that we get together and eat every day. There was tons of external connections. Stan, even when he fell in the athletic area, and he's on his back, broke a bone, and people over him, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" He's laying there going, "Oh, so-and-so, have you met so-and-so?" The guy was unreal with his connections. There was a lot of pride that was taken, and you were noticed if you were absent. If Sharon and I weren't able to be at an event, what would Stan do?
He'd send you a little note and say, I missed you. And we had to get almost in blood to not attend graduation. We were expected to be there, and Ken and I had to go to the UP show one year, no, the National Restaurant Show, and we had to get permission. I better talk. We had to get permission to actually miss graduation. He was that, he called the offices at 8 o'clock in the morning to see if you're in your office, and he would call your office at 4:29 to see if you're still there.
He was very different, so everybody showed up for commencement. And faculty were very much part of the community. He wanted you to live in the community. Sharon is one of the individuals who didn't, and that was frowned upon greatly.
Every snowstorm, he would look at me and he'd say, you know, if you lived in Crookston, you wouldn't have to deal with this.
Stan also rode a horse through the halls. I'm not sure why Chancellor Mary hasn't done something like that yet.
You're giving me ideas.
Right. And our mantra was service, service, service. And we all wore coats and ties. Matter of fact, most of what I had was three-piece suits. I mean, and women, heels, all the time. And there was a gold sport coat that was worn by administrators on special days. Anybody remember seeing that by any chance? Okay, some of you do. Yes, so those people, those administrators would be out in the hall. So as the new students were walking around trying to find things, they were told, if you ever had a question, just look for one of those people in a gold sport coat. It was a hideous sport coat. Everybody did it, but it worked. And then we went to New Direction with Chancellor Sargent. We went from Technical College to University of Minnesota Crookston. We had baccalaureate degrees, we phased out our 2-year degrees. We were the first laptop U. I mean, that was big. And a lot of excitement and energy because of the New Direction. Students could even register without advisor's approval. I mean, that is just, at that time, unheard of. And we went to just shirt and tie needed to be worn by men. So a little more casual, but the budget, the word was always lean and mean. And we had 10 major building projects that took place while he was here. So that was significant. And then we went to Chuck Casey as our chancellor. He cut hockey. A lot of internal refinement was done. We did outside sourcing of like food service management company was out external at that time. And some of our facility management people, such as electrician, plumber, a variety of others, more external rather than internal. There was the no tobacco policy. Budgets were all centralized. Instead of having a million different budgets, it was narrowed down a lot, which was smart. We had a lot of online options that started growing, and we had an increase in P&A positions and a decrease in faculty positions during this period. And then all of a sudden, we had no tie required. I mean, it was whatever shirt you wanted to wear. I'm not into pajamas yet, but soon. Then Chancellor Wood came in as a refocus. I should tell you, I have 200-300 slides, so just relax. We had 8 new majors, 4 minors, 4 new online degrees, new wellness center was built. We were strengthening our partnerships with the community and region. Administrative spouses, though, started living elsewhere. There were several where the spouse was in another state, but it just wasn't our leaders here. More and more people in general were doing that, and they're especially, older individuals. So unusual for us at that time, but common. And then Mary. And ready or not, COVID. Oh my gosh, it was unbelievable. But this campus was so ready because of our online abilities. So many, Sharon and I taught so many classes online already. So most of the faculty were able to transition without much of a major stumbling block. But then, who's that masked person? One of the problems when we came back and we had students in the classroom, somebody would talk and it was like, who? Who's that? You know? And you start calling somebody by the wrong name because people started looking somewhat like masks is all we were seeing. We had an incentive program, so several people started retiring. Well, as a matter of fact, there's my wife, hi Gail. She retired during that process as well. And we had chronic issues with searches, though, that have been going on because of COVID, and that's been a continued challenge, but getting better. We had a lot of intern positions because of COVID, also in those searches. And Zoom meetings were the norm. And I'm one that says, okay, Zoom, it's all right, but I'd rather not if I have a choice. We had the John Sojan murals, that question about being racist, and so we put drapery up to cover them up as needed. We cut football, but we added hockey back. Students' numbers have been increasing. We've had, matter of fact, our retention level was so high this last year, it beat everybody, I think, in the world. Seriously, I mean, it's so great. And so faculty are starting to wear jeans, by the way. We go from three-piece suits to jeans. And we continue to have a bright future under Mary's leadership. Hospitality Association. I can't help it, I have to bring it up because it was a major club on campus. And the insignia is kind of important. UMC serves as the foundation at the base there. The H, you see the sides are curved to be inclusive. The bar going across the A is balanced. The tip of the A is like true north, your compass. And so it represented something. And this is a blow-up of a lot of business cards that I've received over the year. And oh wait, whose name is that? Yes, Sharon, that's you. So there's your business card.
That's cool.
That was on the bulletin board in the hall. That was our Epicurean room. We were just setting it up that day. And we also used it for socials, not just dining events. We did off-campus catering. We also took trips to a variety of restaurants, and students enjoyed themselves with many experiences. We also, at the Upper Midwest Hospitality Show in Minneapolis, had a booth, and tens of thousands of people attended, and so we were able to have some excellent viewing there. We did tours. Students also learned some artistic abilities with tallow sculpturing and doing pestelage, cocoa painting with pestelage, which all handmade. Pestelage is a sugar base. We did, HA Club did pizza sales, we did wreath sales, we did special events, and this is one of our menus from 2006, but I want to point out, everything from the fresh baked bread, the herb butter, we actually made the butter, okay? We just didn't take butter and put herbs in it, we made the butter. And for the last item on there, these Sweet Rocky Road marshmallows, we made marshmallows from scratch. Okay, so this is gourmet. We also had fun with parties, socials. We also had spa trips. And we've had china that was produced that many students were able to have. And one of our little legacies is that there are 11 teak benches on this campus throughout that the club provided for individuals to sit and rest on. that'll be here for a long time. And we always had time for chocolate malts, my favorite, of course. So that's a quick introduction.
Picture of you all first done, I don't know.
Well, Ken, that was a great summary of the last many, many, many years, and every time I talk to you, I learn something new about our campus. Sharon, what was it like for you to be a woman at UMC during all those changing times starting in 1973?
Well, I'd like to start with how I was hired, because you told me you were going to ask me that, so I was prepared to answer first.
It's on my list.
Okay, I came to UMC in 1973. The campus was 7 years old, okay? I was 24 years old. I had just completed my baccalaureate at UND and had completed my dietetic internship at the University of Florida. And I was back in Grand Forks because my husband was going to UND. And I talked to my advisor out at UND and I said, I need a job. I need a job as a dietitian. Well, Brian Heron, who was the division leader at that time, called UND and talked to my advisor, who then gave him my name. I'm doing this because of hiring, okay, because it's real different. He called me. I came over the next day. I met with him. I met with Provost Hallstrom, who said, is she the only applicant? And then Ernie Franklin and Bob Down, two of our faculty members, said, we'll finish the interview. And I said, okay, we're going to the country club. And in the country club, I was not a drinker. I didn't even know what to order. And they ordered drinks. And I went home and I told my mother, I thought, what did I get myself into? The next day he called me and offered me the job. No, nothing. I mean, there was not a search, there was not any kind of vetting or any kind, if you know how hard it is to hire these days, all the things you have to go through. And I always kind of joke, well, for a quick hire, I seem to have lasted a long time. When I first came to UMC, I was in the hotel restaurant management program. I was supposed to be the I for HRI. The very first year that I was here, I taught in my internship. I never really taught school or any of that kind of stuff. So we're at this meeting and we had a very powerful dietitian from the cities, Virginia Reed, who's told Brian Heron, you should make her develop a diet tech program. I didn't even know what a diet tech was. It had just started in the National Association. So during that first year, 1973, not only was I learning to teach HRI courses, including housekeeping, which I always thought was a stretch. I worked in developing that program. And we started our class in 1974. And I think there was 6 or 7 in that first class. They graduated in 1976. And I'm proud that, Jerry, stand up. Jerry Doye is out of my first class of dietetic technician. He went on to have a successful career. He worked for the Veterans Hospital in Fargo. He's retired. I'm not. So Kevin wanted to talk a little bit about being a woman, okay, at UMC at that time period. Ken talked about the dress for males. Well, the dress for females was also pretty spiffy at this point in time. Always dresses, always heels. Some of the people, I don't know if anybody remembers the fashion merchandising program, Manila Strand. She set the standard for looking unbelievably professional for the rest of us. In the HRI department, oftentimes I was the only female in the room. Almost all of the students were male. We've come a long way, women.
because when I was first working in 1978, I got pregnant with my second child. Guess what, folks? No maternity leave. I was expected to find my own replacement to cover the time I was gone, and I couldn't find anybody for more than 2 weeks. So then I went back to teaching with a 2-week-old baby at home. Dr. Sahlstrom, I think, had even foresaw the possibility that young women may need some other accommodations, because that really was never offered.
I'm sorry, Sharon, I've got to balance it off a little bit. Now, we came up with paternity leave, okay? I think that was cool. But all my kids were born in June, July, and August. And I went to contract, so it didn't do any good. So she didn't suffer only, so did we.
You left me speechless.
I'm sorry, Kevin disappeared.
Ken, I came in 73. Ken came in 79. And so I had those extra years on him, so.
A few, tiny. But it didn't take long though. I think it was only within 10 years, half of our students were female.
Yeah, they really did change, the composition changed dramatically in the next few years. Well, we started the dietetic program in 1974. We graduated Jerry, and we graduated, well, I've got a lot of graduates sitting up here. I don't remember the years for all of you guys, I'm sorry. We have over 300 graduates from that program. And in 1993, when they decided they were not going to have any more associate degree programs, they let dietetics be. They did not cut dietetics. My last graduate from the dietetics program was 2010, and that's Anna. You want to stand up, Anna? I've got the beginning and the end here. Anna graduated. And the last class of technicians, I was always, we ran it for 35 years, and it was just a heartbreak for me when that program closed. I always thought the university made a mistake by saying they couldn't have associate degree programs, but nobody listened to me. They just did what they wanted to do anyway. So, Kevin, you have a second question for us?
Do you want to just tell the current status of the program, though? How it changed?
Well, our dietetic program no longer exists. I with Brian Dingman, another faculty member, wrote an exercise science and wellness program that was started, and that's where I teach now for the last 10 years. I teach nutrition, sports nutrition, and all that sort of thing for students that are in the exercise science and wellness program. And we transfer students from here into dietetic programs. We have a 2+2 arrangement with the University of Minnesota at the St. Paul campus for those that want to go on and become dietitians. We've also transferred some to UND, and as I look around here, all of them, no, Mandy, where did Mandy and Angie, you went to?
New Jersey.
Both went to New Jersey. It was a program for techs to RDs, and Anna went to UND, UND and DSU. So they have all have advanced degrees. In fact, Angie, stand up, Angie. Angie graduated with her tech degree, what year?
2000.
Okay, and then she went on, got her baccalaureate degree. Then she went on, got her master's degree. Then she went on and got her doctorate. So I'm just really impressed with how much education that you've been able to do in 24 years.
And Ken, what brought you to Kirkston? And since the HR program is not in existence now, what do you teach?
Well, currently I teach in the business department. I teach principles of management and business ethics. My original background was management and specializing in hospitality, hotel, restaurant management. But what brought me here My wife and I, we've been married 51 years. And thank you. It's all because of me. We're both working in Washington, D.C. And I was having to we lived in Alexandria, Virginia. I had to go into D.C. and typically had to leave by 6 in the morning. Well, she was in a management position also with a large company, JCPenney, but her time was typically needed to work in the afternoon or evenings for the departments that she oversaw. And we ended up having, obviously, hospitality and management of the pennies. We'd often have to work on weekends. We went 6 weeks without ever having a day off together. And that's when we sat down and said, you know, I think we need to make a change. And wasn't sure what that was going to be. Well, I contacted placement with the University of Wisconsin, Stout, because I had graduated from there, and said, you know, we're looking for possibilities. So he had suggested, oh, UMC has a position open in teaching. I never thought about that, really. I wanted to get into training, corporate training, teaching. Okay, there's a connection. I could do that. And so I put my resume in here, sent it in, and then oddly, like 3 days later, 4 days later, I got a phone call. It was from Tom Kelly. And Tom said he'd gotten my name from somebody else, and he was calling to see if I'd be interested in coming to UMC or putting my resume in for a position here. And I go, well, actually I sent one to you just earlier that week. And he's flipping through his mail while he's talking to me. He goes, oh my gosh, here's your letter. So he said, I'll call you back. So then he called back a few hours later and he says, you know, we'd like to fly you up here, you and your wife both. And so back then they flew husband and wife. And so while we were here, people were interested in my wife as well for some teaching because her background was in fashion and fashion merchandising, interior design. And so she also was hired to teach and has done that off and on over the years. And she retired from being the director of the Disability Resource Center. And so she's had multiple positions as well. So that's what kind of, and I came to be quite honest, and told my wife, you know, I'll try it out for a year or two, see what I think. And I've been here ever since. So I fell in love with something, you know. I enjoy teaching.
And Ken, I don't think they took you out to the country club and gave you drinks as part of the interview, right?
No, they didn't.
You got a little more sophisticated in those 7 years.
How has teaching changed from the 70s? You were teaching at the 2-year college, you're teaching now, you're teaching online, technology, student attitudes. How has teaching changed?
You want me to start? I'll start. When I first came to UMC, first off, I didn't mention in my little spiel there that when I came in, I had a bachelor's degree. That was all that was required to teach at a 2-year level, was a bachelor's degree. They hired me, this is the other part that freaks me out now. They hired me on a tenure track position. I didn't even know what tenure track positions were. I did not know anything about tenure or anything. In about year 5, I think it was. Trying to remember who was the department chair then. Maybe it was Tom Kelly. He said, you have got to put a file together. And I said, what? What is it? And that's how, I mean, it was really, I put together, look, you should weigh it. I mean, it was just a huge file of all the stuff that I had done in all those years, but I didn't even know what it was all about. But they,
I'm sorry, Sharon, it wasn't just a file. You had multiple
yeah, I did. I had files upon files. Yeah.
booklets or binders that had to be submitted.
Well, and they also told me I had to get a master's degree before I could be tenured. And so then I thought, well, I don't want to get it in education. That's what I could do at UMD. So I decided to drive to NDSU. And I went to NDSU 2 days a week, taught my full 26 credits or whatever, because we taught unbelievable teaching loads back then, and got my master's in 1979. So, and then we went 4-year, I thought, my mentor at the Twin Cities campus, Louise Mullen, she was on the dietetic staff down there, she said, Sharon, if you're going to be in higher ed, you need your union card, and that is a Ph.D. And so then I went back for the next 7 years, trying to get that done part-time, because I never stopped teaching in the whole process. I got a little sabbatical in there to do some of my residency stuff I had to do at UND, but yeah. So I started, UND has been UMC has been with me for my whole professional life in various capacities. They even helped fund me. They paid for my books and stuff like that when I was going to school, which I thought was a real blessing. So, what was I going to say? Now I forgot. Oh, teaching. Teaching, okay. Back to teaching. Some of the things that we had teaching then, we thought that blackboards were good. Overhead projectors were really the state of the art. I remember 16mm projectors that I was threading to actually show films in some of the classes. They tried to talk about computers a little bit, but that was, we didn't do much with that kind of stuff. I know I did a dive analysis program for my students, and we had to enter it into a kind of a key punch thing that went to the Twin Cities, and then they printed it off on a teletype machine. And it was really, really antiquated at that time as to how to do anything with a computer. When we went to computers in '93, anybody that knows me well knows I don't like technology very well. If it can malfunction, it's going to malfunction for me. So Ken just did it, we just went with that. We were really excited about technology, and I was one of those late adapters. So I've been forced to use it, But yeah, I always say the thing that will make me retire is if they force any more technology on me, because you think I don't have the capacity to actually learn any more technology. The students have always been wonderful. I've always told my students I've never worked a day in my life. I really, truly love what I do. I hope the students all know that. I care deeply about all the students. I go to work, and I felt very fulfilled. I really feel like I picked what was the best career for me. I did some dietetics work. I was consultant dietitian to some facilities. And so I know what it's like, but education is really my thing, and it's the students. When we first started, my first class of technicians had males in it. I think there was 3, wasn't there, Jared?
Yeah.
3 males in my class. Over the years, it became pretty much totally females in the program. But there's been changes in the students, but that basic core is still there. You just have to reach it to kind of draw the students out and figure out where they're at.
Well, I agree with everything you said, with the changes, technology and everything. I think one of the challenges that we face today in using technology is this thing called artificial intelligence. And so ChatGPT. And so I just had a class reviewed this fall and had other faculty from another campus looking at materials. And the thing that they said about my project was, it would not be able to be easy to do that with ChatGPT. Students actually have to do the project. And that's the new challenge, I guess, that faculty have to work on, because students might be able to take questions and just plug them into ChatGPT and get an answer. I think that, when some of you were here originally, you registered for classes, and you come to a room and you get a punch card. And then you take your punch cards, you go table to table to pick them up. Then you take all those to a particular table, and that was put into a box. Those were all driven down to Minneapolis and run through a machine, and then that's how you were actually registered in a class. Today, students can register on their computer from any place they want to be sitting. So it's really easy for them. And they can add and drop the classes, and it's wonderful. So there's a lot of positive things about technology today that makes it enjoyable. The students themselves, I do think that there's a work ethic that existed years ago, and I think it's a little different today. And I'm trying to figure it out still. But students as a whole are still extremely positive, wonderful individuals. They're just trying to figure out, I think, as well, how they approach a job.
I kind of agree a little bit with that, but our students today are so busy. We have 41% of our students are student athletes, and so they have all of those things to juggle. Students are very involved in a lot of stuff on campus, and they've always been involved in campus, but it seems like when I went to the career fair and looked around, we have more clubs than I've ever imagined that we'd have on this campus. It's just a huge number of clubs. And many students, because it is expensive, are trying to work some too, which really makes it a challenge to balance all those things. But as a group, everybody, you just have to approach them more individual, I think, figure out what actually is their goal and where they're headed and how you can help them on their journey. Because students are my joy. That's basically why I'm still here at my old age.
Well, half my students are online students, and so I don't get an opportunity to meet them face to face. It's through emails, basically. And though they introduce themselves in the classroom, it's still not the same. And I do get a few that'll call me on phone or Zoom with me, but majority of them, they have families and jobs, and they don't really have time to chat per se, unless they have a question. Specifically. So I have found, I guess one of the things I've learned is I've always been a little bit of an organized person, maybe over-organized, but a detailed person. So that's helped in some ways, because going online, having things very detailed for the students has been a very positive support for them, so that they understand what they need to do and what the expectations are. And so I think one of the biggest changes right now is just the amount of online teaching, which allows me to do it from any place, those courses, but I still enjoy just being here on campus.
I'm blessed that most of my classes are live, and online, I can do online, but I really like seeing those smiling faces in the seats in front of me. So, yes, I understand that's probably the future for education as more alternate methods of delivering information, but it really is nice to have the kids on campus and see them grow. As I look around and I see people that I had when they were 18, and see what they look like now, it's like, wow, these turned into beautiful adults, and I'm so pleased to see the growth in all of them, as people, and growth in their careers.
When Sharon and Ken and I were talking about today, we thought we should give you the opportunity to ask questions. So if you have a question, if you just want to raise your hand, if you pretend you're in Ken and Sharon's class again, and I'll pop on over with the microphone so everybody can hear you. Any questions that you'd like to ask?
Back in the early 70s, as you mentioned, it's called HRI, Hotel, Restaurant, Institutional Management. Well, right before holidays, like Thanksgiving and Christmas, the HRI division would put on a meal for us in the old B dining hall. And that is where I was introduced to venison. My dad didn't hunt deer, so I didn't grow up hunting. And anyway, one of those holiday meals, they served venison. And it was very tasty, and I was hooked for life. Now I'm a deer hunter.
Look at the changes we can make.
Oh, Greg Hallstrom, class of '74.
What was your major?
Crop production
Okay.
at Chuck Habster.
Truck chapstick, yeah, okay. We, HRI, when I first came, I was totally HRI, I mean, as far as dietetics was under HRI. And so I had a lot of HRI students, but we did so many banquets and dinners and constantly, Dr. Salstrom's idea was, well, I've got a perfectly capable department here, let them put on this big spiel, and we did a lot of catering.
Yeah, the problem with Stan was, from the time he'd leave his office in Selvig Hall and get to the event, he'd pick up another dozen people that we weren't prepared for necessarily.
He also, when he traveled, would ask, he'd stop at a restaurant and he'd talk about HRI to the waitress or the cook or whatever, and then he'd bring it back to whoever, you probably got them too, where we were supposed to call these students and talk about the program. He was so much about service. We didn't have any research expectations, none. We were expected to, I taught 26 credits, but I was also expected to go to all these different high schools, any kind of event where we could maybe recruit students. We were constantly on the road when we weren't teaching.
And Stan knew my schedule very well, because he knew when the labs were, especially the introduction food preparation class, because we have things that we prepare and techniques that we were learning, the samples. He would always walk into the Epicurean room towards the very end. He'd go, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know you were in here. Yes, you did. I didn't say it though. And I said, oh, Chancellor, welcome. Would you like a little sample? Oh, well, if it's okay, sure. So he'd sit down with the students for a few minutes and sample items. We'd talk about the products, and he'd leave. Next week, the same thing would happen. The students kind of started to realize, I think he knows what he's doing.
Does anybody else have a question?
Now, I'm probably taking advantage of this event since I work on campus and can talk to you guys at any time. But we have several photos in the archive of the restaurant in downtown Crookston, the upper deck. And I'm curious what the relationship was with the university and that restaurant.
Well, relationship was, clubs often used it for socializing, so we'd have dances up there. Students would have their big parties there. Plus, we had banquets there, constant, frequent banquets. We had word sessions. The faculty had dances up there, and so it was supported extremely well. The problem with the upper deck was upper. You had to go up stairs.
Stan was a big believer in parties. And if we had a Christmas party or any kind of party, again, it was mandatory that you attend these things. And so a lot of those were at the upper deck because then you could serve alcohol, which was more of a challenge on campus. But I vividly remember some of those events up there, and you had to attend. Well, during that time period, I got audited by the IRS. And I had all this babysitting stuff on my tax return, and they said, we won't pay for your social life. And I said, you don't understand. I had to be there. I mean, he really made it quite clear he owned us. You never feeling like that? I mean, he said, Saturdays, fine, you could do, doesn't matter, Sundays, I mean, it really didn't matter. He had something he wanted to, and yeah.
But I also remember with Stan, I had a big favor to ask of him one time, and it was a medical item, and trying to get in to see a specialist at Mayo. Went to him and I said, by any chance, can you help speed this process up? And he'd sit there and go, let me make a couple calls. Bam, that would happen. You know, he knew everyone, and if he didn't know somebody, he knew somebody who knew them. And so he was really good with those connections.
As we end our session today, I wanted to ask you the question of what do you see your legacy being during your very long careers at UMC?
I would say the HA Club, for me, as far as the items that we've been able to donate to the teak benches, as well as quite a large amount of money that we've helped support for scholarships.
I guess mine is the graduates, the dietetic graduates that represented us so well out in the community. We have graduates all over the United States in different, way all over the United States. I don't even know where all of them are at this point in time. But I feel like that's my legacy. It's also to the profession, which I thoroughly love, and to see my babies out there actually doing well in the field makes me feel wonderful.
Well, and I also want to mention the hospitality dietetic people, if you want to pick up a glass, I brought some in, the last of them, from eons ago. So there's some clear mugs over there if you would like to pick one up or two.
Do you know when they were produced? Because they have the old UMC logo on there.
Yeah, every time I wear a shirt with the old UMC logo, he gives me grief.
I've got them too.
I'm going to say close to 30 years ago.
Well, I think some folks were confused, a little bit confused, when we put this session out there in our publications and our communication. They thought that, oh my gosh, Sharon and Ken are retiring. And
Well, that's not all they thought, though. I also got a couple of emails saying, sorry, I can't be there for your award session. So I asked Kevin, am I getting an award?
And I told him no. Your award is being here today. But we wanted to make sure that everyone did understand that they're not retiring. It could be next year, it could be 5 years from now, it
Could be tomorrow.
Tomorrow after the session. But we wanted to thank you both for giving us your time today and sharing your perspectives about a lot of different things with your long history about our campus and how things have changed. And I'm sure that's resonated with a lot of folks back in the 80s and 70s and the 90s. And you're historians of how this institution has evolved over that time period. So it's really interesting and fascinating, and you've lived that history. And I know that your legacy for me will be that I will, as long as I'm at UMC, I'll always remember you, and I'll always speak your name. So
And you're going to help us back to find our office?
I've got another session to go to, so I'll come back and
We'll wander.
All right.
Thank you for doing this, Kevin. I feel so good seeing all these people. It just really made my day.
And both of them were hesitant to do this. They're like, what's the deal? What is this all about? Do we have to give you money for this? No, it's not. They also were like, I think the biggest concern, and I would share this too, it's like, who's going to be there? You know? And I'm like, whoever is here, they're going to enjoy it. So if there's 2 people or 50 people, then and then they said yes. So we were pleased to have them actually be our first members for our lasting legacy session. I want to also share with you. You probably have seen this online, but for those folks who couldn't make it today, we asked them if they wanted to share a note with Sharon and with Ken, just their memories, if they live at a distance or they're just not able to be here. So I'll be sharing that with both of you after today. So.
Can I share one thing before we're done?
Absolutely, I'll give you the microphone.
I'm Amanda Ryan. I'm the class of 1998, so I've been around for a long time.
But I was asked to share something from the Minnesota Academy of Nutrition of Dietetics from our president, Karen Lutz, who wasn't able to be with us in attendance today. She sends greetings and congratulations from the Minnesota Academy. MAN represents the nutrition and dietetics experts of Minnesota. We support, educate, and connect current and aspiring Minnesota nutrition professionals. Sharon has been a stalwart member of MAN throughout her career. She has ignited and nourished the careers of countless nutrition professionals. She has been the shoulder of many of us. Many of us have stood on to reach the heights we currently hold. The members of MAN statewide owe Sharon a debt of gratitude for her dedicated work to further our profession of nutrition and dietetics. We thank you, Sharon, and congratulations. And I have Sharon's like a second mom to me when I was here. I came from a large family, we were very a tight family. It was hard for me to leave home, even though it was 45 minutes away, or half an hour. But Sharon took me under her wing, helped me find my first job as a dietary aide, made sure that she took care of me and assisted me with growing in my profession, and she was a big part of who I became. So we thank you, Sharon, and I know we're supposed to ask questions, but I just needed to share my thank you to you.
Thank you so much, and you just shared a little bit about what your legacy is. And I think that each person that's in this room will share a similar story of your impact and lasting impact on them. So, thank you. We are concluding this session. We have a banner raising session over at the gym. If you'd like to have a ride over there on our people mover, it holds 5. I can't max it out any more than that, or I'll get in trouble.
I would like, we have all the dietetics and HRI graduates stay so we can get a nice picture with Ken and I with all of you.
Yes, and you don't have to vacate the room. This room is ours really for the next several hours, so just kind of hang out and visit and have some coffee, and there might be some warm egg bake back there, so enjoy. And also, of course, the archive table with Carrie and our library folks, Ashley as well. So thank you so much for all your time today.